Hello everybody, I'm Doug Anderson, Artistic Director of the Opera Company of Middlebury, and I'm here today to pose the musical question, who's afraid of contemporary opera? And I'm doing this as a way of introducing you to our next production, which is Glory Denied by Tom Cipullo, which debuts here on September 27th. Okay, so who is afraid of contemporary opera? Well, maybe me. At least as witnessed by our last 20 seasons. For the longest time, Opera Company of Middlebury, the most contemporary opera we had done or produced was Puccini's Turandot, which debuted in 1926. I don't think anybody's going to call that a contemporary opera. A few years back, we did do Andre Previn's Streetcar Named Desire, which debuted in 1995. Not exactly, I think, the best example of contemporary opera. To answer another similar question, which is, why don't they write them like they used to? A conductor once said, and I'll always remember this, a conductor was speaking to a bunch of high school kids, and one of them said, when are they going to start writing classical music again? And he broke into laughter. He said, we have 3 centuries of classical music. We have more classical music than we know what to do with. You could listen to classical music every day, all day, for the rest of your life, and you'll only scratch the surface of all the classical music we have. No, let's experiment with new ways of telling musical stories, something that starts in the 1920s and 1930s. And let's see if we can find new harmonies, new tone clusters, interesting new ways of underscoring a dramatic story. And so that happens back as early as Schoenberg in the 20s. And today, we see quite a lot of contemporary opera. Once you get into this music, it is fascinating and it is powerful in ways that you don't often expect. What's a contemporary composer trying to do? Trying to not only serve a story, but to serve a different kind of story. Often they're writing stories based on, just ripped from the headlines, based on stories that really point out the discordance and the dissonance and the controversies in this world of ours. So something like Dead Man Walking by Jake Heggie, which incidentally is the first Met broadcast this year in October. I hope you'll come to see it, starring Joyce DiDonato. That's about a man on death row. And he's done some terrible things. So a tune like Nessun Dorma isn't necessarily appropriate in a story like that. How do you find music that's going to really bring that dissonance, that tension, that conflict to life? Glory Denied is also about a contemporary story, and I think a very timely one. It's the story of Jim Thompson, who was the longest serving prisoner of war in Vietnam. He was in prison for 9 years in, I believe, Hanoi, often in a cage that was 2 feet high and 5 feet wide. He could not stand up, he could not stretch his legs, and he lived like that, and was also beaten and nearly starved to death for 9 years. That alone is, how do you find music for that? How do you find music that's going to capture the struggle that man had over the 9 years? I think Tom Cipullo has done a beautiful job of doing that. The story gets even more interesting because he goes to Vietnam in the early 1960s. But he doesn't come back till 1973. And of course, the country has changed a great deal in the 1960s. When he left, people were patriotic. We were fighting communism. We were going to stop the spread of communism. It was an all-American thing to do, to sign up and go to Vietnam. He comes home, the 60s have happened. And where he expected to come back to a certain amount of glory for his heroism, now Vietnam vets are being spat upon. He was part of the worst thing that America ever did, so how can we ever, praise you for your what you've done? So in that sense, his glory is denied. And so that alone is a fascinating story about how quickly a nation can change in its attitudes. But there's another aspect of the story which is even more challenging. His wife loved him a great deal, was pregnant when he left for Vietnam. I understand she delivered her baby on the day he was captured in Vietnam. She's in a kind of prison too. Where is he? I don't know. A year goes by, another year. Is he alive? Another year, another year. And after several years, she's got a family. She actually had 4 children. She connects with another man and has a relationship with another man. She connects with another man and they build a house, and she moves in with this other man, not knowing where her husband is, assuming he's dead. An irony here is they built this new house with checks that are still being sent to her from the US government because her husband is away in Vietnam. So he comes back not only to a different country, but to a different family. In fact, he comes back to no family. His wife is in a very loving relationship with another man. His house is gone. The kids, the wife, have a whole new family. Glory denied, family denied as well. How do you find music that's going to serve that? So initially, you sort of listen to music, you think, oh, this is a little spiky, this is a little dissonant. But when you see it paired with a story like this, expertly done, it creates a power and I think an excitement that you don't often see in opera. So I see why the Met and other people are turning to contemporary opera. This is my first brush with it, really, and I'm sure we will be doing more because there's a lot of exciting music being written right now. We will never lose Verdi. We will never lose Puccini. The classics are there for a reason because they're wonderful and they work. But now we're stepping into a whole new period of opera, and we find it very exciting. Let me play just a couple of clips very quickly. The young Alice gets a beautiful aria. When something is a lyrical moment, this composer is able to write a very lyrical song. A song I think you'll remember. It's called My Darling Jim, and it's so many people left behind have done it. She's writing a letter to her spouse who's at war. And there's not much in it, and that's what's charming about it. There's still some snow in the front yard. The kids, talk to your picture. We miss you. But just that need to stay in touch and to connect on a daily basis. It's very memorable and a beautiful song. So I have someone online here, Claire Layden, singing it in recital. Beautiful, crisp, clear voice. And I just want you to hear this lyrical moment in an otherwise very dramatic piece. It's called My Darling Jim. We have assembled a terrific cast for this piece. Two of the singers you know, Meredith Lustig starred in Streetcar Named Desire and also as the maid, also as the Queen in Maid of Orleans. And Megan Pachacano sang with us 10 years ago in Thais, has gone on to have a marvelous career. We're delighted to have her back. And the two men singing in this piece, Peter Kendall Clark and Brandon Snook, have both sung this on multiple other stages. It's being done, as I say, everywhere. It's probably the most produced contemporary opera. So we have a very experienced cast. There's something interesting about this piece. You know, I said there are basically two characters, but I just named four singers. And that is because we see each character at different points in their life. We see Jim Thompson as the young man who went off to war, the young man in a Hanoi prison. But then we also see him played by a different person, an older singer, when he comes back to the United States and has to deal with everything he finds once he comes back on our shore. The same thing with his wife. We see young Alice, who is very much in love, has great hope for the future, is raising a family with this man, and she is the one who sings My Darling Jim. Then we also see the older Alice, who has basically given up on him or on the hope of him coming back. So it's fascinating that time is very layered in this piece. It's not at all linear. We go back and forth. We get the whole story, but he tells it in a complex kaleidoscopic way, which I think is fascinating. I only have one other clip to show, but this is a sort of a trailer from the Atlanta Opera production, which just gives you a sense of just the drama that you can find in the staging and all of these characters from even different times coming together on stage at the same time. So this is the Atlanta Opera talking about their production of Glory Denied.
Members of the congregation,
It's an exciting time for us, kind of experiment. We're really excited to be presenting this. We hope you'll be part of it. We'll want to talk to you afterwards and see how you felt about this move into a whole new repertory. As I say, it debuts here on September 27th, Glory Denied. We hope to see you here. Thank you.